Well, hello again, and welcome back to the News Project Live on GNAT-TV's Facebook page, or perhaps you're also watching us on our website, gnat-tv.org. Whichever way you're joining us, we're glad to have you with us today on Friday, March 12th, and we have a little wrap-up of some of the top news stories that we've been following over the course of this past week, and thank you for sharing some of your time with us today. Um, well, tomorrow actually will mark the 1 year anniversary of the start of the uh, pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. That was when the governor declared a state of emergency here in Vermont. Obviously, the pandemic had been underway before March 13th, 2020. But I suppose if we're looking for an official start date here in Vermont, that's March 13th is probably as good as any. Hard to believe an entire year has gone by with restrictions of one sort or another, and social distancing and mask wearing, and now vaccines. But there we are. And of course, we're starting to see that light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccinations. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Um, but it's hard to remember back to those first weeks when the state's economy went into a shutdown, and people who weren't essential workers were encouraged to work remotely or telecommute. Schools were closed, ski areas were closed, airline travel basically stopped. Mask mandates came into effect, and that event will be marked in a way this next week in Manchester Village when the bell of the old courthouse building will be rung in commemoration of all those who we've lost, and who have all of us who have struggled since then. So the bell will ring at 8 p.m. on March 19th, a week from today. It was on March 18th of last year that the bell began ringing nightly for a while. That just to give a sense of community and solidarity and togetherness during a very dark and confusing time. So anyway, that's something to look forward to. Turning quickly now just to the numbers, the latest COVID numbers, and the update. As of yesterday, there were 121 new cases in Vermont. It was announced today at the governor's press conference earlier today. 23 folks around the state are hospitalized. 4 of them are in ICUs. There's been one additional death since last week, so we are now looking at 212 Vermonters that we have lost over this past year. In Bennington County, excuse me, 8 new cases reported as of Thursday. The state's Department of Health's website isn't updated yet for the most recent numbers, but on Wednesday anyway, there were 8 new cases in Bennington County and 122 reported over the past 2 weeks. So that's starting to continue a slight downward trend, and more encouragement that maybe some of the worst of this is now behind us. Turning to the vaccine front, which of course is the I guess the pathway out of this. More than 25% of Vermonters have received at least one of the 2-dose vaccine treatments. It's about 139,000 Vermonters altogether. About 13% of the state's residents have received both doses, fully vaccinated now. And on that vaccine front, they're opening up the eligibility of who can receive the vaccine. So far, it's been pretty much an age banding exercise. As the governor said on a couple of occasions, it's a really easy way to kind of keep the process orderly and organized. But as of now, people who are 16 or older with certain high-risk health conditions can be vaccinated. School and childcare staff, public safety workers, and people 65 and older are also eligible. Um, so, what are some of those high-risk health conditions that folks who may be struggling with are now eligible to receive the vaccine? Current cancer case, chronic kidney disease, emphysema, chronic bronchitis, heart disease. That includes heart attack, heart failure, congestive heart failure, coronary artery disease. It does not include, however, high blood pressure. If you're immunocompromised, weakened immune system due to solid organ transplant, blood or bone marrow transplant, or immune deficiencies or other causes, or HIV, you are now eligible as well. Even those with severe obesity, body mass index of 40 or above are now eligible. So are women who are pregnant, people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes, other disabilities including chromosomal disorders such as Down syndrome, intellectual disabilities, disabilities that compromise lung function, conditions such as muscular dystrophy, spina bifida, cystic fibrosis, and multiple sclerosis, and sickle cell disease. You can find this entire list on the State Department of Health's website if you think you fall into one of those categories. So, and also today, the governor announced at his press conference that 2 non-vaccinated households can now gather at a time. That's a bit of a change from the past week's guidance where that was limited to 2 households, one of which had to be vaccinated. So it's another quarter turn of the spigot, as the governor likes to put it. Also, restaurants will be able to seat 6 people at a table, and they can be from different households as well. He also said that they expect to announce a vaccine plan for the remaining age bands, presumably dropping it down to 60 and above, and so forth and so on, until everyone is vaccinated, which they hope to see happen by sometime around the end of May, or at some point in May, anyway. Let's see. Also, the governor had a special guest at his press conference. Senator Bernie Sanders was there, who talked mainly about he basically gave an overview of the American Rescue Plan, which is what the $1.9 trillion package of supports and help for families, individuals, and states is called. The most well-known feature of that, I'm sure, for many is the $1,400 check that folks who make less than $75,000 a year, or a couple that makes $150,000 or less per year, will be receiving. A couple of interesting points to that, though, is that that will also include dependents. So, as Senator Sanders said, for an example, a family of 4, 2 children, 2 adults, will be receiving $5,600 to help pay bills and to provide income while the economic factors that have been battering the economy over the past year get sorted out. Those will be sent often by direct deposits. If you have a direct deposit set up with your bank, you might even be seeing them as early as this weekend. We've been told. So about 90% of all Vermonters, he said, are likely to be in line to receive them. Also, the state itself, the state government, will be receiving about $1.3 billion. Another part of the rescue package. That money will go for government programs that might have been financed in the past by taxes or other sources of revenue. But it's also going to meet the unusual expenses that the state has encountered in coping with the COVID-19 pandemic. Senator Sanders also talked a bit about the child tax credit. That's a feature of this plan that hasn't received a whole lot of attention yet, but it's actually potentially quite a revolutionary one. It marks a real expansion or overhaul of the existing child tax credit. That's it's been in the tax laws for about the past 24 years, and primarily the way it's structured goes to benefit middle and upper income families. But the rescue plan overhauls the child tax credit by expanding the benefit from $2,000 annually to as much as $3,600 per child for children 18 and younger. It also includes more low-income households and will pay out the credits benefit through monthly cash payments. Um, those changes could have a major impact on millions of families across the country, especially low-income households and those whose earnings can fluctuate from month to month. More than 4 million children might be affected or lifted out of poverty by this, so it's a real change from what we've had in that area so far, and many people are kind of starting to speculate on whether or not this might be something that will outlast the pandemic and continue on for a long time to come. Senator Sanders also noted that in the bill there's a tripling of funding for summer education programs that will go to schools to help them offer some programs over the course of the summer that would be designed to offset some of the learning shortfalls that have taken place since last September or last March, go back further, because so many kids either missed school or fell off the grid or struggled with online learning. There might be an opportunity to kind of make up some of that lost ground through a summer program. Just on a related note to that, Education Secretary Dan French added at the governor's press conference this morning that he's hoping that schools can return to all in-person learning sometime later this spring. So, more to keep following on that, and the governor said also that there will definitely be some new news coming out next week on all those, the vaccination piece and other restrictions hopefully being loosened a little bit more. Just to finish up with a bit of local news, many of you have heard over the course of the past several years or wondered about the fate of the old Opera House on Union Avenue in Manchester Village. It's right across the street from the courthouse where the bell is going to be rung on March 19th. The building was constructed, I believe, back in the 1860s or 1870s, and it's really got a fascinating history. It was, in its early days, an opera house, a place for entertainments and performances, graduations at Burton Seminary, as it was then known, were held there, before the school's gym was built. It was also, in more recent times, used as housing for the employees of the Equinox Resort. But as anybody who's walked by there the last 20 years or so probably can attest, building has fallen on some hard times, and it was going to be demolished about 8 or 9 years ago. But the Preservation Trust of Vermont kind of encouraged the hotel to kind of keep it, refrain from doing it for a while. They tried to find new tenants for it, some nonprofit organizations that might be able to use the space, keep that building up. That effort failed, or didn't come to pass. So now the building is going to be coming down. It won't be in one big bang. It'll be taken apart gradually, board by board, basically over the course of the next month or so. But again, by later this spring, that space that it's currently sitting on will be converted into additional parking, is the plan for how the hotel and the resort plans to use the space. We'll be having a short little segment about it we'll put together next week. But basically that's what's going to be happening for the short term, and then who knows, maybe another building might be constructed on that site. Also in Manchester, the Select Board at its meeting on Tuesday has voted to continue allowing restaurants to have access to sidewalks and parking for their dining guests. Since their dining rooms were kind of closed or restricted, and we may be seeing a loosening of that. But basically, the outdoor seating that seemed to be well received last year is going to be allowed to continue this coming summer if that's the way things need to be. Um, and the select board agreed to continue that at their meeting. And then finally, hopeful note of spring, a sure sign of spring, one could say. Maple syrup season has arrived. It's been a little on the cold side, as we all know, up until now. And the sap has not been running quite as it normally would have done in late February and early March, but we're getting there now. And local sugar houses are starting to fire up those evaporators and boil down that sap into some syrup. And we're also going to have a little piece about that in our news project lineup next week. So that's good news. What would it not be without maple syrup and smoke billowing out of sugar houses? All right, well, we'll leave it there for now. Hope you all have a great weekend. This has been the News Project Live on GNAT-TV's Facebook page. My name's Andrew McKeever. Been a pleasure being with you. Thank you for sharing a part of your day with us. And we will not be on next week, but we will be back the week after that. That would be March 26th, I believe. So we'll see you then. Meanwhile, have a great weekend. Thanks again.